I'm chatting with James Brewer, who is a certified financial planner with Envision Wealth Planning. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Now we're talking debt. Everybody thinks about debt as being something that, well, you don't want to be in, but there's good debt and bad debt. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, in fact, I think good can turn to bad. Bad can turn to ugly. So we want to make sure that everybody avoids the ugly. Let's look at first why we have debt in the first place. Typically, it's because we're trying to buy something that we normally don't have the cash for. But I think there's kind of four categories to think about debt. One would be like student loans. Student loans is one of those where you think there's going to be a return on my investment. You spend a lot of time, 4, 6 or more years, and the problem I find with some people is when they get out, they forgot about the paper that they signed, that there's going to be this obligation. Instead, they want to start enjoying the lifestyle and potentially have already started spending money, which then starts to already create a pinch, bad, once that student loan debt becomes available. But overall good because it's typically increasing your long-term income projection.
How about, like, for example, a mortgage where we've got a big asset that we're really saving into? Is a mortgage good or so-so? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, there are good, bad, and potentially ugly aspects of that one too. So the good side, right, is that we have to find a place to live. Now, we can make it better by having a good credit rating, and a credit rating can allow our cost of borrowing to go down. Potentially, if people think about it, your next door neighbor and you both buy the same house. Your credit rating, of course, is better than your neighbor's. And that means that they're actually paying more long term, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars more just to have the same house. So we don't want you to have that. That hundreds of thousands of dollars is an opportunity cost that you can use in something better, like maybe insuring your breadwinner in case one of them dies, or what I really like is putting money in your retirement savings accounts.
Or a 1K or an IRA.
Now, most of them have some issue that if suddenly something happens, you lose your job, potentially you're disabled, and you can't pay your mortgage. Well, unfortunately, there's this little thing called foreclosure if you don't make the payment. So we don't want you to get foreclosed on, and then potentially now you've got even more ugly ramifications, and now you've gone into bankruptcy, etc. So it can be good, especially, well, and that's the bad, and it could be good if you are one of the fortunate that what you paid for ends up being less than what you sell it for down the future. But don't be too optimistic because that doesn't always happen.
Now, we've talked about good, we've talked about bad, or maybe something good that's turning into bad, but now there's ugly. And I think that you mentioned in some material you sent me a loan against your 401k.
Yes, loans against 401k should be for, I don't know, stuff that bills things. And maybe you have a short-term need, you need to do something with your home, you need to help out a loved one, something like that. However, I do know that some people have gone in and taken a loan to buy, say, a fur coat. Now, long-term, that fur coat is not building your wealth at all. It's actually creating a debt. And a lot of people don't realize when you take those loans and maybe you get separated from service, that loan is really due in about 90 days. You don't get to continue to pay that off over the next 5 years, which you may have thought when you first took that loan out.
Well, James, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Sure, thanks.